During World War I, the European allies ran out of funds to purchase weapons. Enter the United States. It extended billions of dollars in loans to the European allies. Now, World War I was over, and the United States demanded payment in full. This new part of the series will be covering the events of the 1920s from an economic perspective. The German hyperinflation of 1921 to 1923, the stock market boom and subsequent crash of 1929, the onset of the Great Depression, and how, in one way or another, the inter-ally debts played a role in all of them. First, we need to talk about bonds. From 1921 to 1925, 80% of bonds floated in the US and 60% in Britain were issued by government entities. That's $3.6 billion in New York and just shy of $2 billion in London. In short, governments were borrowing way more than the private sector. However, not even these astronomical amounts were enough for the European allies to pay their war debts to the US government. This was due to the fact that German reparations payments weren't guaranteed. I did a couple of videos breaking down why the inter-ally debts depended on German reparations. If you're interested in the details, you can check out episodes 13 and 14. Foreign government borrowings in London of nearly $2 billion added up to just 7% of inter-ally war debts. And when you took into account German reparations, it was just a little more than 2%. On the surface, the 1920s were a decade of dazzling post-war recovery. But behind the scenes, the inter-ally debts were forcing European allied governments to empty their national treasuries, drive themselves further into debt, strip their industries of credits they needed, limit their export potentials, and to leave the way clear for the United States to rise as a world power. The sky was no longer the limit. It was the US who chose how high it wanted to go. It was at this time that the US earned a new nickname, Uncle Shylock. The US policy of requiring the European allies, and because of the way the inter-ally debts were structured, this ultimately meant Britain, to pay capital and interest charges on the war debts was, Professor and economist Michael Hudson explains, quote, a political aggression of the highest order, in violation of the implied promises made during the war by the United States to its allies, end quote. Welcome back to this series breaking down Super Imperialism, the Economic Strategy of American Empire, by economist and Professor Michael Hudson. If you want to understand the economics of the American Empire from the start, I highly recommend checking out Professor Michael Hudson's book, or the previous episodes of this series. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for part 27.